Are you searching for information on opening a medical spa business and making it profitable within your first year? Or are you thinking about buying an existing medical spa business or selling one? In this video series, we showed our social media audience how to succeed in their business journey by sound and timeless strategies we've been using for over 20 years. We've used these strategies to grow aesthetic medical practices to 7-figure sales and beyond. We've decided to post this valuable information on YouTube because these timeless strategies might be just the thing you need to grow or start your business and succeed in the coming months and years.
Today I'm going to share with you the 2020 and 2021 statistical trends from the American Society of Plastic Surgeons study, as well as another study. I've gotten a couple. The other one was the persistence market research. And I'm going to combine these different statistics and really talk to you a little bit about who our primary demographics are, what services are most popular, talk to you a bit about the trends that were affected from the 2020 pandemic, and go over just giving you information, because the more information we have, the better we can understand our numbers and plan for future timeframes. And so with that said, I'm excited to get started. And this is a marathon, not a sprint. When you own a small business or a practice, it is, going to be good years and bad years, ups and downs, and persistence and dedication are the winning ingredients. So today I'm going to share with you these numbers, talk to you about some of my thoughts moving into next year and planning accordingly. But I have a fun story. I've got an amazing team. We've got 21 people on our team, and our event facilitators are running around doing like 3 events a week right now. I think we've got over 100 events in the next month and a half or something on the schedule. So travel after COVID has been really challenging. Sometimes we can't get flights to where we normally would. We're doing a lot more rental cars and a lot less Ubers. If you're not out traveling, you don't know that it's really hard to get an Uber, even in some areas of California and things like that. Uber is way down on their staffing. So a lot of the ways we used to travel have gotten more complicated and more expensive. And I just want to give a shout out to Joy. Actually, all of our facilitators are killing it and just really working so hard for these on-site events. But in case you thought events are dead, they are not. I have a fun story about Joy. She was working over in a fun combination of Tennessee, Wisconsin, and then Pennsylvania, all in the same week. And knock on wood, this has not happened before, but she grabbed a rental car from a late flight to drive somewhere in Tennessee for an event that she did end up having a $78,000 sales event for feminine rejuvenation. But she got a flat tire on the way to her hotel in the middle of the night, and then had to wait hours for an Uber to come get her, and then arrange a different way to get to that event the next day, which she sold $78,000. Not to diminish that, but the very next day she had a anti-aging event in Wisconsin and sold $52,000, and then she ended the 3-day travel of a lot of challenge, let's say. She was exhausted and a little defeated from the car incident, but then she went on Thursday to Pennsylvania and had a $194,000 event. So thank you, Joy, and thank you, Team PGC, for supporting Joy. And our facilitators are all so dedicated. But in case you think you can't do events right now because of the pandemic, you most certainly can, and that's why I share some of those numbers, because we are the leader in events of this industry. And I have done several different events, as a by appointment only, all day from like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., see people on the half hour. So if you're worried about not having too many people in your office, it can be done that way as well. And as you all know, we've had a lot of success with virtual events. So I just don't want you to be defeated from what's going on out there with different changes here and there, with different mandates and so forth, because it absolutely can be done. And if you need our help, we're right here to help you. So let's dive in. Today, I really want to share with you the statistics from 2020 and 2021, and I'm going to go back and compare those back over the last 20 years so that you can get an idea of what happened in the US and globally to our industry during the pandemic and how that's playing out now to help you with your planning next year, because we have just officially entered into Q4, which is the time that many of us take a hard look at our financials, do planning for next year as in terms of goal setting, financial goals, whether we should buy more equipment or not in Q4 for that 179 tax write-off, whether we feel like we're ready to do more hiring or more equipment based on our capacity and our performance. So it's helpful to look at that against a lens of overall in the world and in the US, what did those numbers come in looking like? Was it just your practice, or was this tough all over, right? Surprisingly, the overall industry was really down about 14%. We show that the cosmetic non-invasive was 14% and the minimally invasive or surgical was down 16%. And so when you look at that, there were over 15.6 million cosmetic services in the US. And like I say, it was about 2.3 million in cosmetic and 13.2 in minimally non-invasive or surgical. So I think those are really good numbers for you to know that we're down about 15% from a pandemic. Now, if you look at those numbers, some of the comparables that you'll find will be looking at 2020 versus 2019. That's the down that I said, about 15%. But then when you look back and you understand the numbers from 2000 to 2021, we're actually up and doing quite well when you look at the overall growth. And we are looking at things moving forward that are really showing about a 15 to 18% CAGR, which is a compound annual growth rate. So we're looking at a real high upside. We're almost looking at this overall industry expanding to less than double, but about a 40% expansion globally is what's predicted. So globally, we looked at about 59 billion in 2021, and they're projecting in 2028 117 billion. So you're darn close to a doubling there. This area has been growing, and it is looking like it will definitely continue to grow. Now, tracking your revenue weekly to see how you turn out monthly is a passion of mine, and you know, if you're a consulting client or if you've done an event by us, we really like you to use your revenue predictor tool to see how you're doing along through the month towards your goals. That is a critical way. That tool is a 5-minute a week tool, and it will change your business. Once you guys really know your numbers and how you're pacing, and if you need to take an effort or an extra step to boost the income, there are all kinds of free resources on our website at projectedgrowthconsulting.com. Go to the resources tab, and grab that revenue predictor tool if you've never used it, because that, the first step is knowledge and knowing your numbers. How do you know if you're doing better if you're not tracking how you're actually performing? So if you haven't used that yet, Q4 would be a good time to start doing that so that you can really understand your numbers as you start doing your projections for 2022. So let's get to some fun facts. I'm sure that if you guys are in this industry, you're always curious to know what the top 5 services are. And if we look at 2021, number 1 in the surgical side was nose or rhinoplasty. Second was blepharoplasty or eyelids. Third was facelifts. Fourth was lipo. And fifth, most popular procedure were breast augmentation. Lipo and breast move around between each other all the time. 92% of the patients treated in 2021 were female and 8% were male. Now, if we look at the top 5 most popular services for cosmetic, non-invasive, or non-surgical, we're looking at toxins, number 1, fillers, number 2, peels are still holding on to spot 3, and that would include like your hydrofacials, your microderms, all of those. Laser hair removal is in 4th, and 5th is IPL. So what that tells us is we're definitely in an injectable market. People are very concerned with pigment and resurfacing, and laser hair removal is still going strong. So I think that those are all critical numbers for you to look at and to consider as you move forward with your plans for 2022. So if we look at the cosmetics procedure trends, so far, like I mentioned, lipo and breast augs move positions here and there. But I think that, understanding how popular nose rhinoplasty and blepharoplasties are, that's really important to look at. We are holding our margins pretty strongly on the injectables. Those seem to be less affected when we talk about the pandemic and things like that. I do think it's really interesting so far on this study that's done from the Association from the Plastic Surgery Statistics Report, which is from the American Society of Plastic Surgeons. It looks like to me they are adding in the things for like muscle building and so forth. They're just calling that body contouring, and that is, as you look at that is coming up, but it's still not coming close to the numbers. We're at about 400,000 a year for those services, compared to when you look at toxins of 4 million and 5 million, and you look at chemical peels are up at 931,000, you look at IPLs at 827,000, you look at resurfacing at 997. So being that this is a new area of body contouring with muscle and so forth, the non-invasive body contouring is really hovering around that 400,000 mark, and it lost a little bit of margin, about 7%, but not as much as others. So that one, you might think it should be in the top 5 because you hear about it all the time. I definitely think that's where things are headed. In terms of my experience of actually being in the office, the muscle building, skin tightening, fat melting combination is very, very, very popular, and I believe it will continue to get more popular. And it seems like it's doing that. The other area that didn't show up on here that I was a little bit surprised was the feminine rejuvenation, or any kind of our feminine treatments that are non-surgical. I'm going to look for more information to see what those numbers look like, because they don't have that on this particular report, and I know that that's growing across the country based on our events and our clients and my own experience here with the practice. So that is really important to know. I was surprised that men still made up only 8% of the market. We've been trying to get that number to 10% for a very long time, and it's still at about 8%. So I think that's interesting to know. The other thing that I thought was really cool is when they look at by region how much plastic surgery is going on, and I just want to share that with you. The top region is called the South Atlantic region. And let me tell you what all is in that region, but that's the number one busiest of the 5 markets. So let's look at who is that. So that one is DC, Florida, Georgia, Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, and those are really the areas that is that number one. Then the number 2 area is actually region 5, which is Pacific and Mountain combined, and that's a lot of states. So that's the second busiest region, if you will, in the U.S. In 2021, and that was Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, Wyoming, Arkansas. No, that can't be right. Oh, California, Hawaii, Oregon, and Washington. Yep. There we go. So then when we look at the other areas, they are ranked after that. So the top 2 are going to be that South Atlantic and the Pacific and Mountain areas. Those are the busiest ones right now. I think it's interesting to know that. As we look at surgeries and the changes and the predictions, this is a tremendous opportunity, and it's a good time to get in this business. When they're projecting growth rates per year on an annual basis of 15 to 18%, when they're talking about between now and 2028 becoming almost double the size, you are definitely in a position of a growing market that definitely is thriving even through this pandemic and what we've been through. So talk about right place, right time. I would say that we are all right there. So take advantage of planning and understanding and see what you can do for your practice, because you're probably already doing a lot of these top five things. When we talk about toxins, fillers, peels, laser hair removal, IPL, I would add to that the ones that I see, in that resurfacing or peel number, that really could be RF radio frequency with microneedling, RF microneedling, microdermabrasion, things like hydrofacial. All of those things are really popular right now. And I tell you what, I just don't like to leave the muscle building, fat melting part. That is extremely popular and one of the easier things to sell. And I think it's worth looking at if you haven't gone into that area yet. And then the feminine rejuvenation with things like Emcella, where you don't have to take your clothes off and you simply sit on a chair. We are having a lot of successes in the chiropractic market, physical therapy market, as well as in these med spas and plastic surgery offices. I mean, it is just so unusual that you can make some improvements without having to disrobe for that treatment. Now, if you're comfortable and you want to do more of a minimally invasive, there are a lot of things out there like that, whether they have downtime or not have downtime. Obviously, if you're an OB-GYN, this is just a natural for you to do the ones that have an internal component. Some practices are more comfortable than others, but it's just been really interesting to watch how this has evolved to the point where if you're really trying to do pelvic floor strengthening without the aesthetic changes, you can do something like an Emcella. If you're wanting those internal or external changes, you really need to be doing something with heat that does an external treatment. So I think that there's lots of options out there, and what I will say about that is if you're intimidated to sell feminine rejuvenation, what you will see is it is such a highly qualified lead when it comes in, because people don't come in for a consult for urinary stress incontinence or sexual dysfunction unless it's something that is bothering them. And so they're so highly qualified that your closing ratio is extremely high on that particular type of service. So I'm just planting the seed that if you're not there yet, you don't have that in your office, you might consider it, and I'd be happy to talk to you guys about it anytime. So my key takeaways are we held up pretty well last year with the pandemic, being down about 15% on average. There are ranges between 14 to 22%. I got to tell you, there's a few different reports, but overall, for everything shutting down, I think that's a pretty impressive number. I really see people picking up and getting busier now, and I loved the comparisons of the growth from 2000 to 2021 and then the projections to 2031. That was really super valuable. And to go from a global industry of 59 billion to 118 billion, we're talking about some dramatic growth out there. Now, you're going to get a lot of pressure in Q4 to buy equipment and to take advantage of that 179 tax exemption. And what I would tell you is, first look at your books with your accountant and see if you need that kind of a write-off. If you're getting a great deal, that's fabulous, but you still need to do the work of looking at your current capacity usage for your staff and your current equipment. You need to look across and see where you are on what is your revenue mix? Where are your different revenues coming from? And is that in a profitable setup for you? So obviously cost of goods are important if you're looking at things like injectables with a 50% cost of goods and retail with a 50% cost of goods, and then you get some sort of a treatment where there's maybe no disposables other than paying for the equipment, then you really want to be growing all three, but keep in mind what things are actually getting you a net profit. So that is taking how much you sell versus your cost of goods or whatever kind of disposables you have to use and your staffing, and really looking at how much true profit are you making by service area. And then you can hone in perhaps on growing the most profitable areas and realizing that if you do a lot in body, and you only have skin tightening and fat melting or fat freezing, maybe you do want to add the muscle building because you're already really secure in that area of body contouring, right? So I would just tell you, look at where you're the most successful, cross-reference that with what your profitabilities are, and then really do our capacity exercises that we have on our videos, and to know where are you operating with your capacity, how far out are people booking, what are your average tickets, what are your retention rates, what if you are at 100% capacity, what does that number look like, and are you hovering around 80%? If so, then you probably should be looking at maybe adding more staff or adding more different kinds of services. So if you would like to do a deep dive on financials, we do offer a financial consulting series. It's usually about 4 meetings with me, and I take you through and really help you understand your numbers, because your numbers are truly your gas. It's your gas gauge, your fuel gauge, and your oil light. If you really have your financials set up right with the right chart of accounts, you can truly take a look at them and understand your profitability, understand your marketing return on investment, so that if you need more business, you simply add more to the pay-per-click and paid social. If you don't, you take some away. When you get it honed down to that way, I have many clients who will say, I need less, I need more, and I'll just turn down or turn up their pay-per-click, and they can tell the difference in hours. So depending on whether you need more leads, or you need help converting your leads into clients, or you need help closing your consults, those are all covered in our online immediately available course called Conversion, Consultation, and Closing. So you should really check that out. That's a good one for your staff, and one login and everybody can use it. So we are offering really good, affordable, no nonsense ways for you to build your business and, number one, understand and build your net profit. That's where I'm always at. You know the old saying, revenue kills, profit thrills. That is truly the case. So you need to study both, not just one. And I think that these industry statistics are super valuable to know that there is a rapid growth coming for this industry. We held on pretty well during a rough year. And now you know those top 5 services. And as we look forward together, I am so excited for a fabulous 2021. Now is the time to plan for that. So get in touch with us if there's anything we can do to help. And I wish you the most profitable year yet. Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification icon to be notified every time we post a new video. And don't forget to grab your free copy of our book and all of the resources we've provided. You can find the links in the description below.